Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Charm City Sideline Podcast. I'm Zach, and with me today is Brad and Dawson, per usual. And today we've got a Q&A podcast for you guys. You guys submitted questions on Lamar Season's Instagram, and we're going to be answering them. But first off, we had a few little headlines from this last week of training camp. Ravens lost their preseason game to the Eagles 16-13. The Ravens signed Russell Gage, the former Falcons wide receiver, that caught some eyes. And then Kyle Hamilton had an injury scare. But as of today, August 13th, he's back on the practice field. You guys have any thoughts on either of those old training camp? Brad, anything?
Preseason game wise, Nate Wiggins looked insane.
Yeah, I did.
That was really scary when he got injured, but he'll probably be out a week or two. He'll be ready for week one. Kyle Hamilton, I think I was busy when that happened, so I didn't really see it. And then I just saw that he was injured, and I was like, oh no, but he's fine too. So everyone fine. I think it's interesting that Ben Cleveland was playing center in the preseason game. We'll see how that shapes up over the next few weeks, but that's kind of all the thoughts I have about preseason. I would just say Nate Wiggins looked really good, and the Ravens are great at drafting corners.
Yeah, I'd probably have to agree with Brad. I mean, there's not really much ever to say about a preseason game, but Nate Wiggins looks like the real deal based off the one performance we've seen. Sucks that he went down, of course, with the injury, but luckily, like Brad said as well, he should be back before week one, healthy to go week one in Kansas City, and that's great. But preseason game, typical preseason game of just kind of dink and dunk, bunch of backups fighting for a job. It was just, what we expect. And the Russell Gage signing's nothing too glamorous. It's more so just probably a camp body fighting for a roster spot, so I wouldn't look much into that. But I am extremely thankful that the Ravens dodged a bullet with Kyle Hamilton because at first, I think we all can agree we were a little scared, but he was back in the field today, and they said he was damn near just as good as he always is. So it's good to know.
Yeah, I was very, very happy to hear that. I was scared whenever the notification hit my phone the first time, like he leaves practice not even 20 minutes in. That was just scary. It was alarming, but glad they got it figured out and he's okay. But let's get into the questions, gentlemen. First question coming from Coach K _. Does Lamar Jackson have a chance to go for a third MVP this year? Now, I read this as this year, but I'd like to open it up to in the future. I think that's still a possibility and the chances go up. But if you wanted to say and answer this question for this year, Lamar has the 7th highest MVP odds on ESPN Bet behind Mahomes, who's first, followed by Stroud, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Jordan Love, and Jalen Hurts. Dawson, what are we thinking about this year?
I mean, if we're specifically talking about the 24-25 season, of course Lamar Jackson has a chance to win his third MVP. I mean, realistically, if you look outside of 2018, his rookie season where he took over the halfway point, every single season halfway through, Lamar Jackson was firmly a top three in the MVP voting.
Absolutely.
Even the seasons when he went down with injuries, guess who was number one or two best odds to win MVP before he went down with injury? The other two seasons, he won MVP. So of course he's always going to have a chance. And he's the type of player that it doesn't matter the team around him, what happens necessarily. If he's healthy and playing his game, he's always going to be in the running for MVP because he's such a fantastic, phenomenal player that does everything you would want from a player to receive that vote. And yeah, I'm going to sit here and say, of course, always going to win MVP. And I have a little bit of bias because we're Ravens fans, of course,
Yeah.
But the fact that he's 7th best odds and he's one of the only two players in the NFL that's a 2-time MVP, almost 2-time unanimous MVP, by the way, one vote ruined that, is pretty crazy. So I think he has a much better chance than guys like Jordan Love and Jalen Hurts. No disrespect to them whatsoever, but that's my opinion. And yeah, I think he has a great chance this year of winning it. And I think he has a really good chance of winning, hell, maybe a couple more in his career. I mean, he's got a long career ahead of him and he's already got 2. So,
yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with everything Dawson said.
Oh, yeah.
My main take on it was because I don't just want to repeat everything he said is just like, it's insane that he gets disrespected like this. And he's probably going to, I mean, it's going to be the rest of his career. Like, there's just nothing anyone can do about it. It doesn't matter if he has 2 rings by the age of 33. Like, there's still going to be people doubting him, and he's going to be disrespected in lists and stuff like this. I've seen some lists this summer of top 10 quarterback rankings, and he's like not even in it on some of them.
What?
That's crazy.
Which is
dude.
insane. But he definitely can win MVP. He definitely can win MVP in the future. So yeah.
Oh, I absolutely agree with you guys. Dawson really nailed it on the head there. I mostly want to talk about how, I mean, I love CJ Stroud and he's got a great group around him. But I mean, putting those guys above Lamar, and he just came off a winning one. Like, I feel like if let's think about like the NBA for a second. Nikola Jokic is 3-time MVP. He's going to be like number one in odds as soon as the season starts the next year. So like, how Lamar is 7th is just like what? Like, it doesn't function in my brain. I assume it must for the others, but yeah, that's a great question, Coach. Thanks for submitting it. We're gonna go moving on to the next one. This one's a good one because I don't think we've really broken it down. Alex Hershey asks, do you think the roster overall is better or worse than last season? Brad, what's the immediate answer?
I would say it's worse. I think saying it's better would just be kind of excited for the season type of thing. Like, Clowney had an amazing season and he's gone, and we didn't exactly replace him with anyone. I guess like Adisa Isaac would be the replacement for Clowney. We were able to bring back Van Noy. I just don't know. There's not really anywhere where we got a player. Like, Derrick Henry is kind of the only thing on my mind. So I would definitely say it's worse. That doesn't mean they can't be better because it's year 2 in the system with Todd Monken. And Derrick Henry might make that much of a difference with a run game. And like a second year of being confident in what Keaton Mitchell can do once he comes back, and maybe a second year of Bateman being healthy, all those things can add up. So even though if the talent isn't the same as last year, we could still be a better team and possibly go deeper in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. I'm right off the top of my head, I'm probably going to agree with Brad and say the team on paper, the roster is probably worse. And not to say that this team is going to fall off or anything's going to change from how they performed last year necessarily. But yeah, we lost Clowney, we lost Patrick Queen, we lost quite a few players who were big impact players last year. And not to mention got like a guy like Keaton Mitchell, who's not even going to be healthy to start the season. But we got Derrick Henry, so it's not really that big of a glaring hole. But I mean, yeah, on paper, we are probably a worse team, but at the end of the day, this team has always rebounded with who they've lost with free agents, and they always draft extremely well. The rookies play well, and they always step up to the game. And, the biggest ones off the top of my head would be inside linebacker next to Roquan Smith. We have Trenton Simpson, who's looked the part so far, and I think the whole fan base is super excited for him. He was drafted to eventually replace Patrick Queen, so that was in the plans a while ago. And then, I mean, the edge kind of scares me a little bit, pass rushing. However, Odafe Owe, there's a lot of big hopes for him this season, and he has been pretty good, but I think overall, yes, the team is probably worse. By the same time, I wouldn't fully commit to that because we did get a guy like Derrick Henry, which I'm pretty sure everyone knows by now is a top 3 running back, and he's going to make this offense so much better than people even realize. Like, if healthy, man, Derrick Henry in this offense is going to do wonders.
Heck yeah. I mean, whenever I read the question the first time, I was like literally halfway into the door of better. I don't know why. Maybe I am excited for the season, like Brad said, but I was halfway in it thinking, okay, it's better. But I think it's because we think so highly of a bunch of guys that are kind of in between the make or break seasons. So like Trenton Simpson's really going to be tested. I feel like Zay is really good, but if Zay Flowers can step up, we become a level better. Or actually having Mark Andrews with likely perhaps for an entire season. Like, there's so many factors that could make it better. It's just right now, I don't think I can go that way. We also didn't say anything about the O-line there, but like the O-line is like on paper probably much worse. We just end up kind of filling those gaps because we have Lamar Jackson. So it ends up being fine. But that's the only reason why I would put us worse, even though I really want to say better, because I think by the end of the year, if we compare them, it could easily stack up, if not be better. I think you guys kind of touched on that too. But our next question comes from Just Malik. Does this Ravens secondary have the potential to become one of the greatest of all time? And I kind of want to start here because I love the secondary group. It's loaded. It feels like it's stacked, like Stevens, Marlin, Wiggins, Hammy, Eddie Jackson now. Like, what makes the position group legendary would probably be their accolades. So maybe if Marlin gets to the Pro Bowl, or maybe he makes a All Pro, and Hamilton does, and going deep in the playoffs, I think both of those matter towards becoming one of the greatest. So it probably has to end with a Super Bowl. But Dawson, what do you think about this question?
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you look at anything in the sport or the game, everything has potential to be the greatest. I mean, you can realistically have that case with anything. However, our secondary is very good on paper this season, and we have a lot of guys who have already proven to be Pro Bowl, All Pro caliber players in Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Williams, Kyle Hamilton, Eddie Jackson. I mean, you have on paper statistically probably the best secondary in the NFL. And I'm not trying to be biased by any means. I'm really trying to be fair. But like you got 1 through 3 at cornerback. You have Marlon Humphrey, Brandon Stevens, and Nate Wiggins. That's about as good as you can get
Yeah.
realistically in one
Yeah.
team with a salary cap. At safety, you have Marcus Williams, Kyle Hamilton, and now you throw in Eddie Jackson. I mean, that's 6 Pro Bowl caliber, all pro type players right there. If, Nate Wiggins, of course, is the part which he was drafted for, first round pick. But like, yeah, of course, this defense, or I'm sorry, the secondary has the potential to be the greatest. They all do. But, it's just about them going out there, staying healthy, and playing the game they always have. It's the main thing is staying healthy. If they stay healthy, then this secondary will be absolutely lights out. And I dare anybody to try to expose them or make them look any worse than
Mm-hmm.
they're not, because they're going to be really good. And of course, I would say they probably have the potential to be the best secondary we've ever had.
Yeah, I feel like, to go back to that last question, how we were talking about, is it a better roster or not? I feel like the secondary might be one of the few things that is better than last year.
Yeah.
You look at, we did lose Geno Stone, who I think some people are underrating what he was able to do with us last year. I feel like they're kind of just like, in their minds, they think Eddie Jackson is just going to be better than what Geno Stone was last year, and that's probably not true. I do think we're going to miss Geno Stone. Yeah, Zach. I might be talking about Zach right now.
Maybe.
I think we're going to miss Geno Stone. I think he's going to have a good year with the Bengals. But I think the addition of Nate Wiggins and the experience of everyone else, Marcus Williams maybe not injured. Like, you just hope all these guys can have a healthy season, like what Dawson was saying. And I think Kyle Hamilton, towards the end of last season, Kyle Hamilton was the best safety in the league. And it just felt like he could cover the whole field. Like, with that 20-foot wingspan, I think he's going to be even better than he was last year. I think the addition of Nate Wiggins is greater than the subtraction of Geno Stone. And then when you do add in Eddie Jackson, that makes a difference as well. A guy with a lot of experience. Like, just pulling up the depth chart here, Arthur Millette did get hurt, which does kind of suck. He's probably going to miss a couple games. But like, do you guys remember how good our Darius Washington looked last preseason? Like, he was balling out.
Yeah.
He looked really good.
Yeah, Pepe's healthy. Like, and I'm really confident in Brandon Stevens here. I think he's going to have a great season. He might get a big paycheck next offseason. So
yeah, I think Stevens is going to be really good.
Yeah, to answer the actual question, best secondary of all time, I think you need to make hay in the playoffs to be like Legion of Boom, for example, won a Super Bowl. I think if we win a Super Bowl and maybe a corner gets a pick six in the Super Bowl or something, maybe that's what puts you into best secondary of all time. But it's definitely far-fetched.
No, that's honestly perfect. I think we were on the same page. Like, it matters about staying healthy. I love that from Dawson, but also I think you just got to show the results. I think you got to go really deep, AFC Championship again, or the Super Bowl, and have a few guys that, are names around the league. Kyle Hamilton's becoming that name. Like, when Brad just said that, you think he's gonna have a better year. How can you even have a better year? Like how I can't even imagine that. Like that would be separating himself in safeties. So I'm looking forward to it. Its potential is definitely there. So we would say yes, it has the potential. A few people asked for this next question, what matchup we're looking forward to week 1 besides the Ravens and Chiefs in the league. I can handle this first if you guys want. I'm a pretty big advocate for the New York Jets. So specifically with Aaron Rodgers, I'm a big Aaron Rodgers guy. So I'm really looking forward to seeing them. I believe they play the Niners. Is that right? Is that right?
Jets Niners, yeah, Monday night for week 1.
Yeah, that's like a must watch. I'm gonna be in front of the TV, Jets and this big potential stuff. I mean, I think that's just fun. Either one of you have a pick.
Zach,
Brad?
give us your let's do this. Give us your favorite week 1 game and your favorite Ravens game that's not Chiefs.
Oh, I think I might be going to the Ravens-Bills game, but I'm very fond of watching the Cowboys just because, family likes them. Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to that Ravens-Cowboys game because 3:30, I mean, America's game. I
Tom Brady
that week.
On the call.
Course. Yeah, if Brady's on the call, dude, what a freaking legendary game. And Lamar, going into Jerry World is also a big deal too. So it'll be a fun to watch. Brad or Dawson, you got anything right now?
Yeah, so I just had to look at the week 1 lineup because I did not know what games were playing each other. But what I'm seeing right now, this Packers and Eagles game, that is the night after our game on Friday night.
In Brazil.
Man, Jordan Love and Jalen Hurts kicking off the season, dude. That game looks really good, and I'm gonna have to tune into that game.
I forgot. Yeah,
I didn't even know. Like I said, I just had to pull up this lineup, and dude, Packers and Eagles week 1 seems good. But outside of that, the game I'm most looking forward to for the Ravens on this schedule, outside of course week 1 on Arrowhead, because we're going to destroy the Chiefs, of course. But is week 4. Is week 4. Don't listen to that, dude. Just go past it.
Okay.
Week 4, Sunday Night Football, man. Buffalo comes into town to play Baltimore, and I cannot wait, dude. Josh Allen's gonna be coming in here with no Stephon Diggs and good old Keon Coleman, man. And I can't wait for that matchup because I think we all know the Bills passed with us and stuff, and we all want revenge. And that's going to be an early season AFC showdown, AFC championship preview. Like, that's going to be a good game. And that's 2 MVP candidates going at it, 2 top quarterbacks, and just going to be juggernaut, man. And I hope Derrick Henry runs for like 200 yards, but it's going to be a good game.
Okay, so my picks. Obviously, for week 1, you guys probably took the 2 best matchups besides Ravens Chiefs.
Yeah, there's not much.
To talk about week 1 a little bit, obviously we're all going to want to see what Caleb Williams can do. They play the Titans, whatever, but we're all going to be tuned into the Bears to see how Caleb Williams looks. That's going to be exciting. I think Jags Miami has some, potential there. Cowboys Browns, I know there's a lot of hype about Tom Brady's first game. It's going to be interesting to see how great he is already in his first game announcing. Mm-hmm. But my number 1 game that neither of you picked, I would say Texans Colts, because last season, what Shane Steichen was able to do with the Colts with a backup quarterback, I don't know if you guys remember, but they were a 4th down, slightly bad throw / drop away from winning the division over the Texans with a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what they look like with Jonathan Taylor, Anthony Richardson week 1 against the Texans, who had great success last year. As for the Ravens schedule, you guys talked about my pick would be Cowboys. I think that is a very exciting game. We don't play on Fox that often. And also, I keep saying it, but we obviously are all interested to see Tom Brady announcing a game. Like, we don't have to pretend that we're
Brady
like
Glazer here. What the heck?
We don't have to pretend that we're like not ready to see that. But a game I'll talk about is Ravens Chargers, Monday Night Football, November 25th. It'll be the first game of John and Jim Harbaugh since the Super Bowl. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of media coverage about that. It'll definitely be skewed in the light of the Super Bowl that's now 12 years ago. Sadly, time going by very fast. But
That's crazy.
I think that Chargers game is going to be very interesting. Kind of sucks that we had to play at the Chargers 2 years in a row, but whatever.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, still, that game's gonna be awesome. I mean, golly, just
That game.
dude, talking about that.
We have a
oh my
loaded schedule. Like, sorry to interrupt here, but like we got Chiefs, Cowboys, Bills. Obviously, 2 games against the Bengals. I don't know why we play the Bucks on Monday night, but whatever. We got a standalone game against the Steelers in December, and then we play the Texans on Christmas on Netflix, and then we also got
Dude, yeah, that's a good one. I can't believe no one said that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we got bro. We have 5 primetime games, but I think we have 7 standalone games, which is basically a primetime game.
Oh.
They're just not primetime because they're at 4:30. But we have 2 Steelers and Texans games. We're both it's the only game happening at that time. So it's really like 7 primetime games.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, I remember watching Pat McAfee show when they talked about, like, why aren't the Ravens on more? Like, I feel like everyone wants to watch Lamar and, like, not that many people get to. So whenever they were on primetime, it was kind of a big deal. People would try and hype it up. It was fun. But I want to take you guys to week 1 versus the Chiefs. Our first touchdown, Lamar throwing one in the air. Sty Fly Bentley is asking, who's coming down with it, boys? Let's throw a prediction out there. I have my pick pretty quickly, and I feel like I need to say it
I do
before
too.
you two say it. So
all right, Zach, go for it.
I'm going Mark
I'm
Andrews.
locking
I
mine
think Mark
in.
Andrews is getting.
I'm locking in Isaiah Likely touchdown. It's feeding families.
Ooh.
Take the odds. Isaiah Likely is getting the first touchdown pass of Lamar Jackson's 2024 third MVP campaign.
Wow.
Is it my
Rip
turn?
it like a Band-Aid. Yeah, rip it, dude.
Okay, before you finished the full question, I was going to say a Derrick Henry rushing touchdown as the first touchdown of the season, because that would go crazy. Okay, yeah. First pass. Let's go with
Justice Hill.
Why do I feel like it's going to be Nelson Aguilar in the back of the end zone on a 3rd and goal at the 8-yard line?
Tylan Wallace.
It's going to be Nelson Aguilar, 3rd and goal at the 8-yard line. He's going to be in the back of the end zone.
Wow, that was really specific. So I really hope that doesn't happen.
So if this happens,
it's going to be.
We're going to be crying.
Everybody slam the odds right now. Isaiah Likely is scoring the first touchdown of the.
I feel like Mark is just so easy.
It's going to be Nelly.
So easy. I just feel like
dude, we just have too many weapons. We have too many weapons, bro. We have a good problem to have.
Absolutely. That's just a fun question. Thanks for that. Our next one is D-Certified. They ask, do you think the Ravens should invest into a big-time elite receiver? As of today, I believe Brandon Ayuk and the Niners are kind of in talks to send him to Pittsburgh. It's kind of in limbo.
Who knows what's going on with that?
It's between contract stuff. It's a mess. But there's also been talks of Mr. CeeDee Lamb being upset in Dallas.
Man.
Only we can dream. Like, we're dreaming right now, but we just want to take you in with us. Brad, do you think that the Ravens should invest? We can go with the specific question. Should.
Are we talking about this season?
Yeah.
Right now, I'd say no. I just think that obviously we could do whatever we want. We've talked about this before. You look at what the Rams did when they won the Super Bowl. You can make a super team if you want to. It's just that you might not be good for the next 5-10 years, depending on how crazy you go with it. But no, I think you trust that Zay Flowers is going to be top 10 receiver.
Wow.
This season. And I know Bateman has been injured twice already in camp, but it hasn't been the legs, which is a good sign. It's been like more midsection injuries, which I think is a lot less scary. I trust the receivers, honestly. It's not ideally what you would love to have. I mean, you look at the Bengals with like Chase and Higgins and the other teams around the league, but I mean, I think all 3 of us are really, really confident that Zay Flowers is going to be like that, like elite wide receiver 1.
Sure. This is a loaded question too, because like there's a big difference in should and will they. Will they? No. Of course the Ravens are not going to invest. They're not going to invest big time in a receiver. It is what it is, man. I hope I see a notification and I get completely shut down, but it's not going to happen. Should they, however, I believe they should. And I don't want them to go out here and trade for like a Devontae Adams, a Brandon Ayuk. I'm not saying go out here, give up the farm, and trade for a top 10 wide receiver because there's realistically no point in doing that. You saw Lamar Jackson in 2019 carry one of the worst wide receiver cores we've ever seen in Baltimore Ravens history, I would probably say. And he won the MVP, got us the first round bye. And I mean, he had Seth Roberts, Willie Snead, like Marquise Brown, like rookie year or something like that. Like, I just, no, like, you don't, Lamar Jackson does not need a bunch of wide receiver ones. Zay Flowers is going to be a phenomenal receiver, like Brad just mentioned. I'm pretty sure every single person in the Ravens fan base is hoping for that and waiting for that. He's the real deal. However, we're waiting on Bateman, and Aguilar is a little, a little scary there, but I don't think they should go out and invest into a big time receiver. However, if a smaller, proven NFL guy becomes available that wouldn't, you wouldn't have to give up a ton for, becomes available, then go for that. But I realistically think right now the Ravens roster could and should compete for a Super Bowl this season with right now if they stay healthy. Um, but I'm not closed off to investing in a wide receiver. But I'm not going to go out here and trade for like Brandon Ayuk and give up like second, first round picks, give up Bateman. Like, yeah, it'd be awesome. But at the same time, it's like, okay, then you got to pay him. And then you're not going to be able to pay somebody else. But I will say that the Ravens Super Bowl window, if it's ever been any more open, it's got to be the next 2 years because you have Derrick Henry. And I mean, that's got to be your biggest, most available Super Bowl window you're going to have is these two next seasons with Derrick Henry on the team. And if that means going out and trading for a guy and, solidifying that wide receiver core, then go for it. I don't think anybody would be upset, but I don't think it's like a necessity with how this team is sitting right now. But I'm not going to say that CD Lamb in Baltimore would be the most beautiful thing
Woo,
ever.
woo.
Can you imagine? Can you boys actually imagine trading for CD Lamb if he became a Raven?
Imagine
Oh
you
my
just wake
gosh.
up like 5 mornings from now, and there's just CD Lamb to the Ravens like all over Twitter. Like,
And like they gave up like Bateman, a first round pick, and like a second in future years because we traded a second round pick for Roquan, and I don't think a single person that's a fan of the Ravens would take that trade back.
yeah,
I don't think a single person would counter that offer, that trade. Because look how that turned out.
yeah.
So I mean, yeah, teams don't want to give up picks, but at the same time, if they can turn into a trade like Roquan Smith did, I don't think anyone has anything to say.
Wow, that's perfect answers. This is kind of an addition onto it. Dawson mentioned Nelly, Mr. Nelson Aguilar. Noah TR77 asks, "What's your take?"
Oh no, we lost
I
Zach.
don't know what happened there.
Oh,
You're back. Go
you-
ahead.
Oh, hey
We got
guys. What's your take on Nelson Aguilar and the news recently regarding, I guess, some dropped touchdowns and Lamar being visibly frustrated?
I saw that tweet. Obviously, he's gonna have the case of the drops. He always has his whole career.
Poor Nelly.
But like, I mean, what are you gonna do about it? You know what I mean? Like, he's a solid receiver 3. He is a vet that we don't have. I know, in that Rams game in the rain that we won when Zay Flowers caught the touchdown.
Yeah.
To tie it, that was Nelly in the huddle saying, "I'm gonna clear out this guy, and Zay's gonna be open behind me." Like, that's what he brings to it. The drops, yes, do suck. The Steelers game last year, especially. But
Gosh.
I don't really think it's not something that I'm like concerned about. Like, every receiver drops passes. I just think it got blown up a little bit with Nelly and Philly because Philly fans are ruthless, and it's just been a thing ever since.
It's so funny. It's so
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, like that's not something I read the other day and was like, well, here we go. Like Nelson Aguilar is gonna be absolutely terrible this season. Like, dude, he's been in the league for a long time. Like he's been there, done that. He's a proven vet. Like he was really good for us. I mean, it's not really good, but he was really solid for us last season when called upon for the most part. So it's like I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I'm not going to worry about Nelson Aguilar. Like I know he's going to be beneficial for us this season. I know he's going to catch touchdowns. He's going to make more plays than he doesn't. So it's I don't think that's anything to buy into. And as far as like Lamar getting frustrated, like that's nothing to worry about too. Because I would be more concerned if it was, oh, Lamar didn't care. I would be a lot more
That's true.
worried if it was
Yeah.
Lamar didn't do anything. So it's actually good to see your franchise quarterback, show visible frustration with that. And it's nothing really. It's just him wanting his guys to be better, and he knows they can be better. And it's just a good competitiveness to have as a franchise quarterback. So I think it's a good thing, if anything, that Lamar is getting upset with that.
And to take it a little deeper here, I see like Nelly's issues in Philly, like to be able to have that in the NFL and then come out on the other side and still have a career here. I mean, like, dude, that's pretty impressive. Like, I feel like if any other wide receiver does that, they not only keep the reputation, but literally just erase from thin air. Like, they just literally just evaporate from the NFL. And in this case, Nelson's stuck around. He's talented enough to do it. And in our team, with Zay Flowers putting a lot of pressure on himself after that fumble, basically to take the lead in the AFC Championship, I feel like everyone's kind of made for each other. Like, it's been well thought out that these guys are kind of perfect puzzle pieces. So
Yeah,
I love
that's a
Nelson.
good point.
I'm good with him. Yeah.
That's a good point, Zach. He's a good
Yeah.
veteran, and you can see that he fits the chemistry of the locker room, and players like him. And it's
Yeah.
not like he's not like a diva or anything. He's a very good character to have in that locker room, especially for the young guy. Like Brad mentioned, we don't really have a veteran. I mean, we don't. And with a guy
Because
like Zay,
Odell leaving.
who's yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like, that's a really good thing, especially with Zay hopefully emerging as a top young receiver in the league within the next few years. Like, it's a good guy to have to kind of show him the whereabouts of, ins and outs of being a receiver in the NFL. And, it was a good guy to have in the locker room, especially when Zay, of course, fumbled that ball, because that is a killer, especially for a young wide receiver. I mean, we've seen how Flowers has come out and said it bothered him all the way up until when they reported this season for the new season to start. So it's definitely a good guy to have. And I'm glad he's part of the team.
So I don't mean to continue a little pile-on of negativity here, but I don't know how to say the first name. _Gill asked, "What position room are you most nervous for this season?" We've kind
Just
of talked about it. It like pass rush, O
I
line.
was just gonna say
Honestly, quickly, just like give your position. Like,
I was just gonna say we
maybe-
could do 3, 2, 1. Offensive line.
okay, O line. Okay,
Well, I'm
that's my
gonna go
only
right off.
comment.
I'm gonna go right off what I just said. It's probably the wide receiver core, I'll be honest with you. And it keeps
Wow.
changing. Like a month ago, I probably would have said wide receiver, or I'm sorry, offensive line. But right now, it's a wide receiver core, man. I mean, let's be honest. You got Zay Flowers, who, of course, could be a 1,200-yard receiver. Rashad Bateman, who, quite frankly, we love, but he's still unproven. Like, he's got to stay healthy and he's got to produce. And I think he will, but you never know. And then you got Nelson Aguilar. And it's like after that, there's a significant drop. And I mean, I hate to say it, but one injury to that group, especially towards the top, and it looks really bad.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is we have stars all across the board, across the offense with Andrews likely, Derrick Henry, Keaton Mitchell, and stuff. I get that. But one injury to that group, man, to that three-headed monster, if you would, it's not going to be pretty. Or God forbid Bateman falls off or he doesn't do much this year.
Yeah.
That's probably got to be the position that concerns me the most. And real quick on the offensive line, I know it's just a preseason game, but what we saw the other day from the offensive line with the young guys, as in Rosengarten, Cleveland, and Voorhees, I'm just gonna say they looked pretty good.
Yep.
I
Brad
do
Andrews?
agree with what Dawson said. Rosengarten, like there was no crazy, oh, this guy's terrible. Or, like there was nothing crazy that happened in the preseason that you were like, this O line is gonna be bad. My concern, like my thought when I was watching the preseason game is I was like, I feel like your starting O line shouldn't be playing in the first preseason game. But like that's our starting O line. And they need to play in the preseason because none of them have played before. So like that's kind of what my concern is. Like, okay, we still have a month until the season. I would just like to see, a couple of veterans. Obviously, it's probably too late, but I just would have not traded Morgan Moses, and I probably would have signed a low end guard as well, just to go into the season with those guys. If they get hurt or if they're bad, whatever, you at least tried it. I do agree with Dawson a little bit about receiver. They're the Ravens are kind of going into the season hoping that Bateman kind of has a great year. And it's just tough with what's happened in practice already. I think, with everything in life, once something starts happening a lot, you do your best to just like try to like, okay, let's ignore it this time, like whatever it is. And I feel like that's what we're doing with Bateman this camp. We're like just not even thinking about the injury issues that are going on. We're just pretending it's not happening. And we're just going to hope that when the season comes around, like he's good to go. And I feel like he might be, like we talked about it. I talked about it 20 minutes ago. It's not leg issues, which I think is big. It's no foot, no leg thing. So I don't know. I would definitely say O-line number one. And honestly, probably edge I'm more concerned about than receiver just because of all the young guys in there.
Yeah. And yeah, I think if we hadn't talked about Nelly and the wide receivers before this, I feel like we wouldn't even like really considered wide receivers. Like maybe we would have mentioned them at the end,
I
but
would have.
okay, well maybe
They're
yeah.
scaring me,
I'll
dude.
just,
They're scaring me a little bit.
yeah,
I
at least
would
you're
have.
covering them though. Like I feel like we had pushed O-line and pass rush so much this year that I feel like we would have said that. Next question, our final question for this Q&A. Young NJ asks, do you think Zach Orr is going to do good, and what are the expectations? So maybe I'm thinking like where we're thinking ranking defense, maybe yards wise, or what are you guys thinking, Brad?
I think even if we still had Mike McDonald, our defense wouldn't be as good as it was last year. It was truly a historic defense. Like, obviously it shouldn't have been, but people were comparing it to like the 2000 Ravens and stuff like that. But I think, we're going to have a top 10 defense. We always do. Besides, like, ironically, the year we won the Super Bowl in 2012, our defense wasn't great. And obviously in the mid 2010s, it wasn't great either. But it's going to be top 10. I trust Zach Orr. He was like making his way up to possibly being like an all-pro linebacker from being an undrafted guy. So he obviously knows what he's doing. And he's coached multiple positions on the defensive side of the ball. He coached while we had Wink. He coached while we had Mike McDonald. I think it's going to be fine. I think you can expect a top 10 defense with top 5 potential. And I wouldn't be shocked if we're the best defense in the league again, but I would say you could expect them to be top 5 to top 10.
Wow.
Yeah, that's fair. Losing Mike McDonald is a huge loss. We all knew it was going to happen, but you can't exaggerate enough losing a guy like that. Like it's such a big loss to a defense. But the cool thing is that Zach Orr is a guy who, like Brad said, played on the team just, X amount of years ago, quickly rose up to the top, was almost, all pro linebacker and stuff like that. And, he's a guy who has a super, super close connection to these players, especially a guy like Roquan Smith or Kyle Hamilton or Justin Matabike. Like those are the cornerstones of our defense from every level of the defense for the next hopefully like 15 years. But he has such a close connection with these guys, and it's literally a brotherhood. Like it's quite literally like they're all players. Like yes, he's our defensive coordinator, but like Zach Orr can still be looked at as like a player. Like when he's on the sideline, he interacts with our players like a player. Like he's truly a player's coach. And he has that physicality, just go beat the out of your enemy like mentality, dude. And it's exactly what the Ravens have always had as far as the defense. And like, yeah, it's going to be different than Mike McDonald, but at the same time, he sat underneath Mike McDonald, and I think he's going to translate a lot from what he learned from Mike into what he's of course going to build in Baltimore this season with our defense. And yeah, our defense took hits, of course, in the positions, but at the same time, we didn't just lay around and do anything. Like we filled those areas of need. Like really, pass rusher is probably the only one I said we wouldn't completely fill. But I think Zach Orr is going to be a phenomenal defensive coordinator, and I legitimately believe that within a year or two, he's going to be getting head coaching interviews. It's just how it goes, and it's just a cycle, and it's a great cycle for us. But at the same time, it sucks. But he's exactly what the defense wants in a guy like Roquan who's going to lead the defense. It's literally a brother to him, and it's just going to make things bad for opposing offenses.
Yeah, I think we're all confident in his ability to be a defensive coordinator in the NFL, and obviously the Ravens are too, given this opportunity. I think he gets tested right off the rip with the Chiefs. I think that's like,
Dude,
wow, you're throwing him into fire. But I mean, honestly,
yeah.
if they want him to be great, there's no better way to do it. Like, throw him right in. Like,
Yeah.
that's why I'm really excited for that too. But thank you so much to everyone who submitted a question today. Some of them we didn't get to, but continue to submit them, and hopefully we get to them. If you enjoyed the podcast, please like it, subscribe so you don't miss another one, or rate it if you're on Spotify. We appreciate you guys, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
See you guys.
Peace.